Hello, and welcome to Hope Ready. I'm your host, Dr. Ellen Awad, and we are just learning all the things we need to know to be hope ready during this time of pandemic. It's really on all of us to make good choices for ourselves and for the well-being of our greater community. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about quarantine and isolation housing, and our guest today is Kristen Bachniak, who's the Associate Dean of Residential Life. Welcome, Kristen. Just start us out here by talking about quarantine and isolation housing.
Great. Thanks, Ellen. So I'm going to talk about both of these together, but define them a little bit first. So isolation housing is when somebody has tested positive for COVID. So they have gone to the health center, they've gotten a test, and they have been determined that you're positive and you're going to need to move into different housing. Quarantine housing is when you have been deemed a close contact or direct contact of somebody who has been tested positive. So the definitions are a little bit different, and the ways that you kind of will move into your temporary quarantine or isolation housing will be a little bit different, but the process and the support will be the same. So the difference is what initiates the conversation and then what do we do. So I'll talk about it all as one. So we have a whole number of isolation and quarantine spots reserved for our use. And what will happen is that when somebody is deemed that they need to use those, the health center or in connection with Ottawa County, if it's a quarantine person, will call somebody that we're calling a COVID student advocate. So that is a group of people who are trained on helping students get into the place that they need to, have all the conversations that they need to about not being in class and communicating with faculty and roommates and parents. Like, what is their plan or your plan in making those communications, and how is this person who's a trained staff member going to help you navigate that? So we'll make arrangements for you to move into an alternative place. We'll have this conversation about what are all the different things that we need to think about now that you're going to be in quarantine or isolation. And then that person will be your point of contact for the rest of the time. You will be given a 24/7 phone number that you can call and get some basic needs met, maybe, or if there's a problem with the room or whatnot, we'll have somebody who can answer that. And then there will be these folks who can help you kind of continue to navigate this. There's a food process that you'll be able to order what you want and that will be delivered to you. Isolation and quarantine is also for all students. So whether you live on campus or off campus, we're going to have this as an option. Whether you have a meal plan or not, you're going to get fed. And I think that's important. The other point of contact that you will have in isolation or quarantine is a COVID health advocate. So the student advocate will help you figure out all those things. The health advocate is going to help you understand what do you need to do? What will the county do in conversation with you about contact tracing, and help you walk through the process of, if you are positive, who your contacts were and how we communicate with them. If you're in quarantine and are one of those contacts, just what does this mean? How is your health doing? Check in to make sure you're not exhibiting symptoms. So those two people will be the major points of contact. They'll talk to each other. They'll talk with you as a student just to make sure that you're doing okay and you have what you need. I think the other part of it is when you get released from it. So you will be told by that health department when you can exit that isolation or quarantine housing, and then we'll help kind of wrap up all those loose ends, and you'll be welcome to go back to your home or your permanent home. So that gives a little bit, hopefully, of an overview of the process.
Yeah. It sounds like there's support along the way. So you get this positive test. It maybe is a little bit scary if that happens to you. And then you have 2 staff people from Hope plus the health department, is that right, that are helping assist you in navigating everything. I'm so glad to hear that basic needs are met, like food. I mean, that would be the one that I was wondering about. When you're in isolation or quarantine housing, can you have friends come to visit?
No, nobody can come to visit because in essence, the part of this is that we really need people to be separated from the community so infection isn't spread. And that's hard. That's hard. And that's why we're trying to really make sure you have the connection points that you can still engage in your classes remotely, and you have people that you can connect with. You can talk to them. We do have a process that if you're in that place will tell you to have people drop things off to you if need be, but no, nobody will be able to visit.
Yeah, makes sense. It really just reminds me that it's so important that all of us on campus are wearing our masks, that we're washing our hands, that we're staying that 6 feet apart, and sanitizing after ourselves, right? Keep
Yeah.
ourselves well.
Yeah, and the part about whether you're a close contact. So what a general kind of understanding is if you're in direct contact with somebody who is tested positive. So if you've been close and you haven't had a mask on, and or somehow somebody sneezed on you or something along those lines, it doesn't matter for what length of time. If you've had direct kind of like contact without those safeguards, you're going to be a close contact. The other kind of guideline is if you don't have a mask on and if you've been closer than 6 feet for more than 15 minutes. So that's why our safeguards are so important, because it gives you the least amount of risk if you are exposed, and makes you the least likely to be a contact and thus have to be in quarantine if you do come in contact with somebody who's positive. I think the other part about this is we know we all need to do these safeguards because that's what's going to keep us safe. We also know that there's a chance that you can do all that and still get sick. So I want people to think about that. Like, just because somebody happens to be positive doesn't mean that they weren't being safe and they weren't practicing the safeguards. It could be, but it could not be. And I just want us to be really careful that we're not kind of blaming anybody who's in that place or shaming anybody who's in that place, because it's hard, and we have control over it to an extent, and that's just what we're doing, is mitigating the risk. We're not taking it completely away in everything that we're doing. So just be mindful of that. If you kind of know a friend, or don't judge, just be open and be supportive, because they're going to be in a really hard place.
Yep. Let's just all try to be good humans this semester on campus, to respect one another, to wear our masks and do all the safeguards to really mitigate the risk and stay healthy and well on campus. Kristen, thanks so much for joining today. And
you're welcome.
It's just great to educate ourselves to be hope ready. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.